Hello and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and today we're going to be analyzing some more gameplay of Forza Horizon 4 from the recent Forza Horizon 4 live stream. Now, this particular gameplay is from Team Adventure, and we're not going to be showing the entire Team Adventure, but I'm going to show you guys little bits and pieces here and there so you guys have 100% knowledge of what's going on. Now, Team Adventure is basically two teams squaring up, going head-to-head, and you have a bunch of different types of events. You have team races, you have like playground games, you have some other events in there as well, but it's mostly team racing and playground games and stuff like that. Now, you have a very diverse range of event types, so the car that you choose should be well-rounded, and that's one of the things that they were talking about, is that it's important to make a good choice in terms of a well-rounded car, because the races could be cross-country, they could be road races, they could be a combination of the two, so it's good to have a car that's well-versed in almost anything. Now, that leads me to believe that rally cars would be good for this. That leads me to believe that some other cars as well that are a little bit maybe higher off the ground and have a little bit more ground clearance but are still fast could be good for this. Realistically, I think this is going to be good for all-wheel drive cars, but we're going to have to wait and see once the game comes out to find out what is a good rotation, or at least how we can, predict the rotation of these events. And we may not be able to predict them perfectly, but again, it's one of those things where you have to kind of think about it in the sense of what would you choose for an all-around gameplay style. So thinking about it in that regard, I think all-wheel drive is definitely going to be something that you would use a lot, but at the same time, you could still have a rear-wheel drive car, maybe with a little bit more horsepower, that would have the chance to get out ahead of everybody on the paved sections, but still be able to hold its own once you made it to the dirt. Now, that could also mean that it's not going to be dominated by things like, say, for example, I don't think it's going to be dominated by MX-5s or dominated by S2000s or dominated by anything that's really good on tarmac. Now, to be fair, if we have an off-road kit for an MX-5, that would be amazing. If we have an off-road kit for a Miata, boom, that's so awesome. If we have an off-road kit for really anything, that would be, well, anything related to a Miata. If we have any, like, sports car off-road kits, done deal, I'm in. Now, later on in this video as well, we are going to be showing some gameplay of Edinburgh, because Edinburgh looks awesome, and there's also a lot of interesting design decisions that they've made as far as, what they're going to be doing with that space. But another thing I wanted to talk about is the radio stations. Now, I talked about this a little bit on my Instagram, but all the radio stations that you know and love, at least the main ones that you know and love, are coming back. When I say coming back, I mean basically we're going to be looking at basically like a resurfacing of Block Party, Base Arena, Pulse, XS, Timeless, and Hospital. So that is something that I've talked about a little bit before, but I did want to clarify it yet again in this video, because that's something that I know a lot of people are a little bit picky about. I wouldn't say necessarily picky about, but they're definitely wanting to know where the radio station system is going, because with the radio stations, you definitely have to think, okay, well, what are we going to do in relation to music, right? And I, again, usually leave music off, but music is something that a lot of people really hold tight to, and they hold it very dear with the Horizon games. And I think that the whole thing with the music is that people connect with the music a lot, and music is something that's very easy to connect with. I mean, people have their own favorite songs, and also, if you do turn the music off, this is a disadvantage if you turn the music off. If you turn the music off, you won't have access to skill songs anymore. So that would be one reason to keep the music on, is to have access to those skill songs, because I know the skill songs are a really, really fun gameplay dynamic. It's just something that I don't normally use, because I don't like to have the music on for, obviously, copyrighted music purposes. So, and that's something that you just don't want to mess with anyway, when you're talking about YouTube stuff. Now, on this section of the map, and by the way, the car that you choose at the beginning of these is your car throughout the whole event. Like, throughout the whole thing, that is your car. So if you start out with this, like, Ford RS200, that's what you're going to be carrying on with. That's what you're going to be going through the entire team adventure with. Now, what they're actually doing right now is they're going from basically one event to the other, and it is a race. It is a race, but there's no checkpoints. So instead of it being just like a cruise from one side to the other, you are racing against everybody else, and you do have an objective to get there first, but you do have to remember that the no checkpoints thing can either be an advantage or a disadvantage, because when you have no checkpoints, you can go wherever you want. But at the same time, you do have to keep an eye on the map, and you can't really, just use the next checkpoint as a kind of a guide for where to go. You just have your destination point and you have your map, and that's it. And so map knowledge is going to play a massive role here in determining who is actually going to come out on top. And usually I think in the beginning of the game, like when the game first comes out, I don't think there's going to be that many people that are going to know the map like right off the bat. So I think that there's definitely going to be a learning curve to this. However, I could see it as being something that when a new player comes into the game, maybe a few months after launch, there's going to be a little bit of a steeper curve for them to become competitive than there will be when the game first comes out, because everybody will be learning the routes, as opposed to somebody just jumping in and trying to learn while everybody else already knows the routes, and how to just dive across the landscape and know where you can and can't go. So that'll be something to think about. But when the game first comes out, I think that everybody will kind of be on a level playing field in terms of knowing where and where not to go with these cross-country races. Well, not necessarily cross-country, but basically point-to-point, no checkpoint races that are basically going from the finish of one event to the start of another event. Now, again, we see him taking shortcuts here, and we see him going through water, going through, bushes and yards and stuff like that. We've actually seen them drive past that very house over there on the right before. And as you can see also here too, we see the mud in the spring. We see the ground being a lot more saturated. We see, drifting around on this mud. It just looks so good. It looks really, really, really good. We see the mud splashing up over the cars, and this mud isn't all that deep, so it's not going to be splashing up over the cars too much, but at the end of the day, it is still mud, and it is still some of the best mud that you're going to get in the game. It's still some of the best mud that you're going to see in terms of the seasons and in terms of times of the year. Now, I think also, too, speaking to that, the mud is something that I think, when we see it more and more and more and more, it really, I think there's obviously going to be people out there that are going to be like, oh my God, why can't you sink more? You know what I mean? Why can't you sink in the mud more? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And to be honest, I would rather have just the little amount of mud that we have now, which is not even that little. It's actually really, really good. I would rather have the amount of mud that we have now than no mud whatsoever, because honestly, you're not going to get Spin Tires level mud in a Forza game. It just doesn't make sense. It wouldn't be practical for a game like this. But in this sense, it works well because you have the shallower mud, but it still splashes up. It still goes over the cars. It still represents a muddy environment really, really well. Just maybe not in the sense of going mudding in your Jeep or going mudding in your lifted Cummins. Now, we do have deep mud in the game, and that's over in the off-road park and a couple of other areas as well. We do have that swamp also that you guys saw in yesterday's gameplay analysis video. Now, getting into this survival game type here, this one is a little bit tricky for me to wrap my head around, and I don't know why. It's kind of weird. You have your purple team, and then you have your zombie team, and then you have the little orange, kind of like that little in between. And basically, what the in between is somebody that's gotten infected. If I'm getting this right, I'm hoping I'm getting this right. It's somebody that's gotten infected, but you have, as a survivor, you would have a chance to revive them basically before they go full zombie. I'm pretty sure that that's how it works. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's a good outline of how it works. Now, again, like I said, I think those are people that are available to be revived by other human team members. I think. But anyways, so continuing on more and more and more into this game type, let's actually back out of the game type itself and look at what this actual quarry looks like, because this is a little bit different from anything we've seen in a Forza game before. It actually reminds me a lot of, it's weird, but it reminds me a lot of environments that I've seen in Codemasters games, which, like, when I say Codemasters games, I mean, like, Dirt and the Dirt Rally series and things like that. But I'm thinking about it more and more, and I'm like, you know what? That definitely looks like it's got some, inspiration from the Dirt franchise and the Dirt people, because it looks like an environment that you would see in a game like that. And I think that it's important to have environments like this. I think it's really, really important to have environments like this. I think if you don't, then you kind of like, if you don't have an environment like this, you kind of, negate the usage of the rally cars and the off-road vehicles by a good bit. But I'm glad that the off-road park isn't just the only area that we'll be able to actually take full use of these off-road vehicles in. And this also is a really big open area, and it makes an awesome awesome area for any kind of zombies game type or tag game type, or in any kind of like infected or whatever. It makes a really good playground game type open world environment for these game types to take place in. Now, you join us back nearing Edinburgh. Now, this is something that I've been wanting to check into. I've been wanting to see what this part of the environment looked like. And also, you see the ghosted traffic cars and AI cars, drive cars, in this drift zone. That's actually a really cool feature that I'm so glad they implemented. That's gonna take care of so many frustrating drift zone runs that, like, dude, it's just incredible. Like, none of the traffic cars are going to get in your way. None of the people driving around are going to get in your way. Nobody's going to smash into you. That was one of the biggest frustrations in Horizon 3 as a whole, and I'm so glad they fixed it. It makes so much sense for them to fix that, and I can't say enough about the fact that they fixed it. It's just so awesome that they've done that, and I honestly, like, from me personally, I can't thank them enough for that, because I'm like, dude, they didn't, it's one of those things they didn't have to fix, but they did, and they listened to the community, and they did it, and it's so awesome. Now, this view is beautiful. You jump off of the top of that jump, and you basically see all of Edinburgh, and it looks different than anything you've seen in a Horizon game before. And I cannot wait, by the way, to try to jump off of that jump at max speed and try to land on a building. That would be insane if you could land on a building. I don't know if it's possible to do, but it's definitely something that's up in my head and something that I am totally willing to try. Totally, would be down to try it, because honestly, like, first of all, if you're not willing to try crazy crap like that, then why are you playing a Horizon game? And two, who wouldn't want to try to land on a building, from taking that jump in like a Bugatti Veyron or something? Like, why would you not be willing to do that or wanting to do that? It's just so crazy and so much fun, or it sounds like so much fun. Like, why not? Now, the road architecture out here is completely different from something like Surfer's Paradise. Surfer's Paradise is very grid-based, and this city is grid-based to an extent, but not grid-based to the extent that you might think. I mean, you have like grid-based sections, and then you have little, like, just squiggly random roads that kind of go in between. You have these oddball roundabouts that are like one after the other, after the other, after the other, kind of this like continuous figure eight that's really, really weird. And a lot of the city blocks, as it were, don't really line up with each other. So you end up with a lot more of a weird environment where you're kind of having to stay on your toes about where these streets go, which is really cool for a city. And it's also unlike any city that we've had before in a Horizon game, because all the cities we've had before in Horizon games have felt very block based, and this definitely doesn't feel like that. This feels definitely a lot more tricky, a lot more intricate, and a lot more interesting. Now, also, we saw him cross over back there at one of the businesses, which is a supercar rental company, which is another one of the businesses you can buy. And that's actually a really cool thing, because you can actually use it to generate, if you wanted to generate revenue for your character and stuff like that, you can actually buy a supercar rental business, which, again, that's totally different than anything we've seen in a Forza game before. And I like the idea. I really, really do. I'm just curious to see how it plays out. I'm curious to see if it's something you actually have to manage, or if it's completely passive, and once you buy it, it just kind of sits there and does its thing. There's Edinburgh Castle, by the way, which is also purchasable, and I cannot wait to see what happens with that place. That place is going to be insane, and I can't wait to kind of get my hands on it and get, my cars in it. And I think it's definitely going to be one of those places that's like, oh, he has Edinburgh Castle, he must be, like, hardcore, you know what I mean? Like, he must play this game a lot, or they must play this game a lot, because they have Edinburgh Castle. Especially, I'm sure that somebody out there is going to have Edinburgh Castle and every other house within, like, the first day and a half of owning the game. I'm sure it happens with every single Horizon game. But for the general player population, I feel like it's going to be that one house that's going to be something that people are going to strive for, people are going to work for, and people are going to really kind of devote themselves to unlocking that house as a player house. And I think it's worth it, because did you see how freaking massive it was? And also, you can see the snow-capped peaks out in the distance, because obviously it is spring, but there's still a little bit of snow left on the tops of the mountains, and I think that's also a nice touch, because it keeps you in mind with what the previous season was. By the way, take a look at that freaking bridge out there. That thing looks crazy. I hope that's something that we get to play around with, because that looks really, 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 really cool. And again, it seems like the more gameplay I watch, the more I can't wait to get my hands on this game, because it's such a diverse looking environment that you see it and you see all these features that it has and you go, huh, why would I not want to mess around with that? You know, I mean, especially at this point, I feel like everybody that was originally like, oh, why the UK? Why not Japan? I feel like everybody that was in that mindset, or maybe not everybody, but most people have been kind of turned around a little bit because they're starting to see how diverse and open the map is and how many new things it has than any other Horizon game in the past. So I think that people are coming around to the idea that it's more about the map and the features of the map and the gameplay features of the map rather than the location of the game. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video and this analysis of the rest of the Horizon 4 gameplay from the spring stream. If you did, don't forget to click that like button. Tell me in the comments below what y'all thought of it. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys next time. Talk to y'all later. If you guys would like to grab a t-shirt or a hoodie and support the channel, links are going to be down in the description box below.